Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at the UBC Lunchtime News, this roundup edition on the 8th of August 2021. My name is Wadulo Arnold and thank you for joining us. We hope we'll be running smoothly with you throughout the hour. Now, these are the top stories from the week. It was party after party following Joshua Cheptegei gold win in the 5,000-meter race in Tokyo. Now, this came a few days after he had clinched silver and 10,000 race. The center of joy was in Kapchorwa at the fast-paced athlete's home. Several fans flocked the home of Muse Muniera, Stevenson's Cheptegei's father, to congratulate him upon his son's win. Let's take a look.
It is 30 minutes to the final race of 5,000 meters. Apparently in Kapchorwa, Joshua Cheptegei's home. They have started gathering. As you can see, they are entering to watch the race from here. I am privileged to watch the same race with his father. There is no better feeling than having the entire neighborhood gather at your home. Not for an ordinary visit, but rather to cheer your son represent Uganda at a big stage, the Olympics. Joshua Cheptegei, a sound region name in the Sebe region, known and loved by the young and old, eagerly watching the start of the 5,000-meter race with hope that he will triumph. The packed sitting room, one couldn't afford to blink, but rather watch as the race went on. Look closely, that is Joshua Cheptegei's dad. He seems around, but rather his mind far away, his soul dipped in prayer. And when the guys in the room shouted, 2 laps to go, the cheers and orations were on the moon. Go Joshua, you can make it. The children couldn't hold their feet. Joshua Cheptegei is crossing the line as number 1. What else do you expect from a room filled with relatives and friends? That is exactly the sound in your ears. Joshua has just won gold in style. After 5 minutes, congratulatory messages started coming through. Joshua's dad is super excited. It is now official. Joshua Cheptegei is the 5,000-meter gold medalist. I am with his dad. He has been watching the race throughout. Papa, how do you feel after seeing Joshua winning gold?
I feel excited, happy and excited because he has won. He has done it. God has done it. Yeah, exactly. I had some bit of pressure.
Why?
Because I saw the race was very tight.
Yes, I was on pressure.
But then, what happened after?
If I saw that Joshua was the first, I was very happy.
Kapchorwa is on fire. Joshua's house and that of Muse Muniera Stevenson are a kilometer apart, but the young lad trained vigorously for a month without a visit.
He has been waking up very early in the morning, even at 4. He goes for trainings, and that is why it was not by mistake.
The writing is on the wall. Joshua Cheptegei is the most decorated athlete from Sebe region.
Well, congratulations to Joshua. However, this morning, latest updates, Kiprotich, who was supposed to be running for 15,000 meters, only managed to come out at the 10,000 meters. Well, he jumped out of the race, and then that means he couldn't bring any medals home. Anyhow, still related to the Olympics, Uganda's middle distance runner Peruth Chemtai gave Ugandans a pleasant week after winning for the country the first gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. The fast-paced athlete crossed the finish line first in the women's 3,000-meter steeplechase race, posting a time of 9 minutes, 1 second and 45 microseconds, which is a national record over that distance.
The 20-year-old Ugandan set a new national record as she chased down USA's Courtney Frenches, who won silver at the 2017 World Championships on the final lap and pulled away win by 20 meters. Chemtai's triumph was only the third Olympic gold won by Uganda in any sport after John Akibwa's 400-meter hurdle win in 1972 and Stephen Kiprotich's victory in 2012 marathon.
I start my race, I go in front, I control my races, but I go up to 4 laps. American girl passed me, but I said that I will not give up. I will go. After the end.
Uganda now eyes Oscar Chelimo, Joshua Cheptegei and Jacob Kiprimo, who qualified for the men's 5,000-meter final slated for Friday, August 6th at the Tokyo Olympic Stadium.
Now away from sports, we bring you back to more core national issues. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni this week received the Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, who paid him a courtesy call at State House Lodge, Nakasero. Now during this meeting, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and the Kabaka discussed issues of mutual interest aimed at developing the kingdom and government. The two leaders briefly exchanged pleasantries, both acknowledging that they have taken long without meeting before going into a closed-door meeting. The Kabaka of Buganda was accompanied by a four-man delegation including the Prince David Wasajja and Katikiro of Buganda Charles Peter Maiga. Wow. In other news, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni early this week presided over the retirement ceremony of 14 UPDF generals at State House in Entebbe. These included General Ivan Koreta, Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa, and Brigadier General Moses Chigongo. President Museveni applauded the selfless service of the officers, highlighting that each individual story is a miracle and how they became part of the resistance movement is still a story to tell.
So I am happy to go back home when I am arrived.
Colonel Charles Barija has spent 42 years in the active service of the UPDF. Colonel Barija, who joined the forces in 1979 from Kakobambarara and trained at Kabamba. His first mission was to escort President Yoweri Museveni, who was then Vice Chairman Military Commission.
Era we nasokera mu lutalo lwasooka nga ntandika narusichwalinga His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ku Kireka roadblock nga ina mama Janet ne muhozi nga ali mwana muto wa myaka nga mukaaga. So nsanyuse kuraba nti kati ne muhozi general mubaje atengenze nga nkyalo mulamu.
After the 1981 elections, Colonel Barija went with General Yoweri Museveni to start the Liberation War that ended in 1986.
So I thank the government of Uganda and UPDF.
What could be your advice to those who are still in active service in order to keep loyal to UPDF as you have done?
They should keep discipline, maintain discipline, then to love each other, plus 1 inch.
At his rank, Colonel Barija, whose force number is ROV 00337, was the most senior among the 181 UPDF retirees at Bombo UPDF Land Forces Headquarters. Among the retirees, 15 were at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, 21 at the rank of Major, and others from lower ranks. The Deputy Commander Land Forces, Major General Sam Okiding, said retirement is a sign that peace is prevailing in the country.
And one of the reasons why you are retiring, it's because you have leveled the ground for retirement. If there were issues, if there was a problem, you wouldn't have retired. Maybe you retired through desertion, but that's not retirement.
Major General Kiding applauded the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General William Museveni, for the gesture of retiring soldiers.
The previous armies never used to retire. They were injected out, kicked out. But because of our president, we are now able to retire, to go home with a package.
Here at Bombo Land Forces Headquarters, the 118 officers are part of the 618 UPDF officers that have been retired countrywide, leaving behind a strong force. These have been called upon to be good ambassadors out there, not to spoil the peace they have for long worked for. Bernard Giga, UBC News, here at Bombo.
In a related development, the Deputy Commander Land Forces Major General Sam Okiding this week urged the UPDF retirees to safeguard peace in their communities and the country. He was speaking at a ceremony where 181 UPDF soldiers were retired from the service at Bombo Land Forces headquarters.
A number of officers and men of Uganda People's Defence Forces have been retired from active service during functions held in different parts of the country.
RO 07125
At Makenke Army Barracks 2nd Division in Mbarara, 58 soldiers have been retired. The commanding officer of UPDF 2nd Division Mbarara, Major General Takirwa Francis, who presided over the function, advised the retirees to continue exhibiting discipline, patience, and commitment as per their values.
It's up to them. If they think they have retired to go and misbehave, the society will tell them. Because here we've been trying our best to ensure that everybody lives a normal way.
The retirees comprised of 5 senior officers, 1 junior officer, and 52 others of different ranks. The function was witnessed by the Deputy Resident City Commissioner Mbarara Aine Christopher, Mbarara District Chairperson Tabaro Didas, among others. In Mbale, a similar number of officers attached to 3rd Division have been retired from active service. Speaking at a function held in Mbumagani Barracks in Mbale District, the 3rd Division Assistant Commander, Brigadier Sake Okolong, cautioned the retirees against deviating from their core values.
The core value of UPDF is discipline. And indeed, we have been able to achieve all the milestones as a result of entrance discipline.
Okolong was representing Brigadier Joseph Bali Kudembe. Brigadier General Sake Okolong commended the retirees for their tireless service to the force and urged them to continue building on the firm foundation of the UPDF.
We have been for many years operating in different community settings, and we are going to venture into a new terrain full of new demands. But you should remain steadfast and nothing short of that.
Mbale District Vice Chairperson Tone Wamagale also urged retirees to remain focused as they join the civilian life and desist from actions that would defame their earned integrity.
Our retirees, I want to say that you have started a new journey. And the journey you have started, you have to be focused. Because they are saying you have retired. But for my belief that you have retired, but you are not tired.
A number of soldiers in Masaka were also retired at a colourful function held at Kasagirwa Mechanized Brigade.
Mbadde mbakuutira n'okubajjukiza nti nno bwe baba bagenze waliwo ebintu bingi bye bakoze mu UPDF, mulimu disciplines z'enjawulo ze bayize mu UPDF, omuli discipline eya bulijjo, discipline empisa ze bayize.
In a related development, Uganda People's Defense Forces have retired a number of soldiers at the 2nd and 3rd Division. In the functions presided over by the respective district officials, all the retirees were asked to continue exhibiting discipline, patience, and commitment.
Special Forces Command personnel, consisting of 3 at the rank of Major, 1 Lieutenant, 23 warrant officers, and 1 corporal, have been retired at Special Forces Command Headquarters in Entebbe.
Major Stephen Mande served for a total of 36 years and 23 days.
Presiding over the exercise, the SFC Commander Brigadier General Peter Chandia congratulated the retirees for successfully completing their assignments with distinction.
Today is a memorable day that we are seeing of our colleagues who are part of the people who have made SFC what it is today. Right from PPU, PGB, to the command now. Retirement is one of the major life milestones that marks the ending of a chapter and the start of another. I will take this opportunity to congratulate you and wish you all the success in your new journey of life.
Chandia asked the retirees to take advantage of government programs as well as teamwork with former retirees so as to learn from their gains and avoid committing mistakes. Speaking on behalf of other retirees, Major Stephen Mande urged colleagues to remain loyal, disciplined, and be good ambassadors of SFC. On average, the retired soldiers have each served for 28 years.
Some of us joined SFC when it was PPU. By then, we were younger people. Like myself, I joined PPU in 1988 when I was young at the rank of corporal. But because of good leadership, we were able to grow and become a senior officer. Retirement is part of life and everywhere, not only UPDF.
The function was attended by, among others, Kano Moses Impora, Kano Mugisha, Kano Nabimanya, Kano Jebi Asinguza, Kano Gilbert Wamajezi, Kano Namawa, and Kano Emmanuel Dong.
This country is what it is because you made it possible for it. You brought peace. You brought peace. Thank you very much.
Others were commanding officers, commandants, militants, and spouses of the retirees. Bernard Higa, UBC News, Entebbe.
Very jovial moment right there at the look of it. Now, the Commander of Special Forces, Command SFC Brigadier General Peter Kandia, officiated the retirement of 30 officers from active service. He thanked the Commander-in-Chief General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for professionalizing UPDF from NRA, which was basically a ragtag army, to an honorable and respectable force. Brigadier Chandia was speaking at the ceremony held at the SFC base in Entebbe. Well, we apologize for that. Now, the National Resistance Movement Party this week criticized ODM party members in the neighboring Kenya for linking them to their current political climate. The Director for Information and Communication at the National Resistance Movement Party, Emmanuel Dombo, says that the party Secretary General Richard Todwong has already offered an appropriate response through the Ministry of External Affairs.
Museveni ni rafiki yangu.
We want RUTO to come clear on his relationship with NRM.
RUTO cannot claim to go to Uganda to learn on issues of how to win elections.
National Resistance Movement Party has challenged Kenyan members of parliament over their recent unkind words directed at Ugandan government.
Either they were acting out of excitement or they were acting out of ignorance of exactly what happens and transpires or takes place. Otherwise, if they were cautious enough, they would have wanted to seek clarification in order to comment with the information.
According to Emmanuel Dombo, these audio members are acting out of ignorance.
People comment on the immediate happenings, at times forgetting on some of the things that happened in the previous. And there are no permanent allies and permanent enemies in politics. Because of that, therefore, depending on what the political heat or temperature in Kenya is, it could have informed why those Kenyan MPs responded the way they did. But for sure, everybody knows that's not in our interest to interfere or to be the ones to tell the Kenyans on what they are supposed to do.
Dombo says, though the barbs against the NRM party were malicious, the party and Uganda will treat them as cheap popularity.
But to say that Uganda or NRM is interfering in the politics of Kenya, contrary to the procedures and agreed diplomatic channels, definitely that wouldn't be. And you had the Minister for Foreign Affairs yesterday putting up a statement to say our relationship with the leaders in Kenya is guided by the diplomatic etiquette and also the brotherly relationship that we have as individuals.
Asked whether this will slow down the journey for integration, Dombo said harmony will be restored.
We haven't interfered and we shall not. We want Kenya because our route to Mombasa, our imports go through there, our exports go through there. We are the biggest trading partner for now of our neighbor Kenya. So there is all to win and lose should that friendship be mismanaged. And for us, we look more inside of the economy, and the economy must inform the politics. And we shall not interfere at any one time.
It should be recalled that in the past, both Uganda and Kenya have enjoyed a cordial relationship as leaders crisscrossed from either side to canvass for votes for their desired candidates. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Now in that magazine, a concerned citizen in the name of Dr. Paul Bamutaze this week dragged a section of Kenyan members of parliament to the East African Court of Justice over statements they made following the botched visit of the Vice President William Ruto to Uganda. Now, Dr. Paul Bamutaze's petition was based on the utterances made by the Kenyan MPs against the ruling party NRM and the government of Uganda.
Wacha nieleze kidogo dakika mbili mambo ya bottom up.
On Tuesday this week, immigration officials at the Wilson Airport in Nairobi blocked Kenyan Vice President William Ruto from flying to Uganda, where he had a private meeting, citing lack of clearance from the head of immigration services. It's alleged that the Vice President William Ruto was to travel with other 7 people, including Oscar Sudi, David Bett, Eric Ruto, Ndidi Nyoro, Benjamin Tayari, Elijah Rono, and Harum Aydin, a Turkish national. Following this incident, a section of Kenyan members of parliament from Orange Democratic Movement, led by Junet Mohammed, called for a presser where they uttered statements tarnishing the image of Uganda and its ruling party National Resistance Movement.
While we do not wish to interfere with internal political arrangements in other countries, we equally want to state very categorically that we do not need to borrow from other countries' political habits.
It is against this backdrop that a concerned Ugandan, Dr. Paul Bamutaze, dragged Kenyan legislators to the East African Court of Justice over statements uttered. Bamutaze, in filing this petition, contends that the statement contravened a number of provisions in the East African Treaty where Kenya and Uganda are signatories.
Him as a member of the National Resistance Movement and as a Ugandan, he feels aggrieved because he finds that he has benefited from this government, and for someone to trash all the achievements of the NRM government would not seem fair to him. And literally they trashed the whole NRM achievements and the government of Uganda, saying.
Bamutaze adds that these statements also contravene principles of democracy, good governance, rule of law, accountability, transparency, and the maintenance of universally accepted standards of human rights, among others.
So one cannot cast bad light against a member state with such utterances for members of parliament whom we would believe would show a better example that we are moving towards economic integration.
Through his lawyers, Ovunsuga Case and company advocates, he contends that this was intended to cast bad light to his country's image, as well as the President of the Republic of Uganda, since he is the chairperson of the ruling party NRM.
They really portray Uganda as a country that is not worthy being an example. And yet we all know that Uganda is one of the countries in the East African community that is and has always been pushing for the integration and furtherance of the East African community.
He now wants court to declare that the uttered statements by the Kenyan legislators contravened the several provisions in the East African Community Protocol and also be condemned to pay costs.
Were unlawful, were illegal and against principles of mutual cooperation, good governance and democracy.
Recently, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Okello Oryem, in a press statement, dismissed allegations that Uganda is interfering in Kenyan affairs and that they had not made any arrangements to host Kenyan Vice President William Ruto. This case is also filed against the Kenyan Attorney General, the petition which was received by the East African Court of Justice on Friday afternoon. Other legislators dragged to court include John Mbadi, Opio, Wanda Ikareb, Amis, Jared Okello, Anthony Otieni, Fatuma Abdi, and Millie Odiambo. Nantongo Rebecca, Namamonde Deborah, UBC News.
Regional integration shakes. Now, police in College District is holding a head teacher who swindled candidates' examination fees. Dennis Obal, the head teacher of Sister Gabriela Memorial Comprehensive Secondary School in College District, was this week nabbed from his hideout after his students could not access their UCE 2020 results. It is alleged that Obal collected over 7 million shillings from 35 students but remitted only 600,000 shillings to UNEB.
A week after the release of Uganda's Certificate of Education results by the Ministry of Education and Sports, students of Sister Gabriela Memorial Comprehensive Secondary School in College District have not yet seen their results. This is because their head teacher allegedly swindled the money meant for examination fees, and therefore the exams were withheld.
I sent my message to 6600 to see my result, but unfortunately I got that message written that I have to first go to school to find out further details.
Since the results for all the seniors came back, how was it? I'm not there.
The school, they are saying that there is still a debt for the payment of the UNEB result. So the UNEB, they still need that money to be cleared, and then results should be released out.
The head teacher collected 7,175,000 shillings as examination fees from 31 candidates in 2020, but remitted only 600,000 to UNEB. Abal has been charged with embezzlement and forgery.
Please, LS, I told school fees to Koduch. I told exam fees of Kodushu. I'm a petty Norduch, Amega.
Although the school authorities declined to comment on the issue, parents of Sister Gabriela Memorial Comprehensive Secondary School have given the head teacher a 3-day ultimatum to deliver their children's results. I'm Ediolwa, reporting for UBC News.
Furthermore, from this week, Ugandan citizens were urged to demand government to come up with macroeconomic interventions to reset the economy. While addressing the media at Katongo Road on the 42 days of lockdown and post-lockdown period, the former president for Forum for Democratic Change, the opposition party, retired Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye, said that measures to sustain a reduction in cases of COVID-19 have not been put in place.
Opposition politicians headed by the former president for FDC party, retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye, have come out with an assessment on the 42 days of the partial lockdown. The opposition has criticized the easing of the lockdown and instituting a team to inspect buildings on compliance to set guidelines. They say government had to reorganize places of work during the lockdown, and standard operating procedures like hygiene and social distance are observed during the post-lockdown period.
Stress. Everybody is stress levels are in the roof for every citizen almost. Why? Because ordinary things that could have been mitigated, ordinary problems that could have been mitigated, were left unattended to. You know, you live in a city with so many people renting. They pay the rent from their earnings, which they get on a daily basis. You've shut down their earnings, you've not attended to their rent. Landlords are knocking on their doors.
On wrapping up healthcare system, Besigye says this has not been achieved. On closed schools, the opposition referred to the formal statement that was released by UNICEF and UNESCO on 9th July on closure and reopening schools. He advises government to focus vaccination on teachers and lecturers who are more vulnerable to COVID-19 than the children.
And solve the deficiencies in education by that home learning. Great deficiencies. The consequences for children will be felt in their academic achievement and in their social engagement, as well as physical and mental health.
Opposition politicians also advise government to revise the budget, scale down expenditure and consider tax waivers.
After collecting 30%, central government, then they are comparing us also to come and collect 6%, depending on, or 4%, depending on the category you're foreign. So all this one is killing the economy.
The business community in Kampala is most affected by the COVID-19 measures and yet face a lot of challenges of taxes and interest rates. I'm Nafka Farida in Kampala.
In other news, government this week instituted a 6-member committee to punish all those involved in the degradation of the environment. This was disclosed by the State Minister for Local Government while meeting local government officials with the aim of enhancing quality in their line of duty.
Instituting a team to punish encroachers on the fragile areas in the country will restore the depleted ecosystem. State Minister for Local Government has met officials in the ministry to discuss the state of the encroached areas.
That 6-man committee is to emphasize and go around enacting the laws that are there. Degradation of our mother resources is not new. The laws are already there. But people have kept on breaking the law intentionally, not by omission. What? Giving titles, allowing people to build in wetlands, allowing people to build on sewage, allowing people to cut the swamps and make things that are not befitting humankind. And that's why there are disasters day in, day out.
Government emphasizes planting bamboo along the riverbanks to reduce flooding.
Planting bamboo is a project which government is emphasizing, and NFA has started making nurseries for bamboo. The Prime Minister of the Obusinga of Rwenzururu said they have already had nurseries ready for planting and they are donating them for free. So if we plant bamboo alongside the riverbanks and on top of the mountain as it used to be, then the land will be held very tightly, the river will use its way and will not begin causing disasters of sweeping health centers, schools and all that.
The minister says the Local Government Act is in the process of being reviewed to manage cities, and she stressed the joint effort of fighting corruption in the country. She says government is to work together with the opposition to enhance development of cities to serve the citizens of Uganda.
But the current cabinet, what we have started on is putting our colleagues in opposition on board. Let's work as a team. You've seen in this meeting, the Shadow Minister for Local Government was there. You've seen in this meeting people praising the Mayor of Masaka for accepting to work tightly, closely with government to implement all projects in her city. So that is the spirit we should be working on. We may have divergent ideologies, but when it comes to serving our people, let's be one and strictly one and do what benefits our people.
In the meantime, the public needs patience for the operationalizing the sub-counties and town councils that were approved because the ministry is pushing for a supplementary budget. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
We take you back up north. Now, the rate at which children below the age of 13 in Karamoja region are drinking alcohol is worrying and alarming about their future. Medics in the area say that parents resort to feed their children with the local gin known as waraji due to the lack of food, though poisonous to their lives. The waraji they feed their children on is made out of sugarcane residue and imported in the region from Jinja, the hub of sugarcane growing.
The recent report 2019-20 published by Uganda Bureau of Standards ranked Karamoja region at the top of regions with the highest prevalence of alcoholism in the country at 48%. Initially, Karamojongs used to take local brew, which is made out of cereals like sorghum, millet, among others. However, people started importing local gin known as waraji, which is made out of sugarcane residues from Jinja district. What worries the medics in the area is the high alcoholic content in the gin.
It's poison, so it is illegal. And unfortunately, the profit made by this illegal trade is very high. So since people who do this trade, they don't mind about the fact that they are getting a lot of profit out of selling poison, out of poisoning the Karimajong.
And the major form of alcohol that our people are taking is really, the one which is really causing a severe damage is the waraj.
37-year-old Rose, a mother of 4, a resident of Lotuk in Moroto district, started drinking since her childhood when her mother used to sell alcohol since it was the family business. The story is not different from that of Longole Thomas.
During at the age of 16, okay? Now it is 37. And she just stopped like 5 years ago.
Whenever you go for other duties, you know, the soldiers' duties need to see when you are going. You are supposed to be taking something when you are ready of what will happen in the front. That was what happened with me.
The medical superintendent St. Chizito Matanyi Hospital in Napak District, John Bosco Nsubuga, and health advisor Moroto Catholic Diocese, Dr. Pierre Luigi Rosanigo, explain the high levels of alcoholism in the region.
Our people lack food. So because of this particular reason, people don't have anything to eat, so they end up taking alcohol. This is one reason that you find that even we get several babies, several children coming to the hospital when they are drunk. And they have been given this alcohol by the mothers.
Alcohol, by the many people, is considered as a sort of food. They take it so that they forget hunger. They even give to the children when the children cry for hunger to keep them quiet. And at the same time, for the women, is a sort of income-generating activity.
Dr. Nsubuga says last year they received over 200 patients with liver cirrhosis at the facility.
Liver cirrhosis is actually damage to the liver. Over time, the liver gets damaged and you find that it can't perform its functions. So the number of patients who are coming to Matanga Hospital with liver cirrhosis has also increased.
Moroto Diocese Health Coordinator Dr. Divina Musimire and Dr. Nsubuga explains the dangers of perpetual alcoholism.
People are always fighting. Mothers and fathers are fighting in their homes because of taking alcohol. Nutrition is very poor in Karamoja because of alcohol. We also have another issue of early child marriage. It is because of alcohol. People want to get the dowry because they want to go and drink alcohol. So
organs are going to be affected. Then, of course, later it will make, if the complications are not treated timely, someone may end up dying.
Moroto Catholic Diocese is championing a program, Alcohol Anonymous, which has helped many people to abandon the vice.
I decided to get out they accepted that alcohol is destroying them. So how can we get out of it? So we have established some treatment center through the formation of Alcoholic Anonymous groups. We have two here in Morocco, one in the hospital, one in Hawaii. Then we have one in Tapash, near the mine, because alcohol consumption is very high.
Some of the victims share their success stories.
I stay in a good way. Whenever I get my money, I just serve first the family. The little I remain with it, it's the one which I'm just using for passing my time.
To the group where they help them to stop drinking, and they help them to also show them how to work out, to take care of their children and take them to school, and then live happily, because as they were fighting and work, she was not happy.
Following this, Moroto District Police Commander Abe Barugahare impounded 13 jerrycans of waraji which had been imported in the region from Jinja. DPC Barugahare says the local gin was banned in the region. However, the owner justifies why she's into the business.
People of Moroto and the people of Karamoja sub-region to desist from taking Nguli. Nguli is killing our people. Nguli is another threat like coronavirus. Themselves who are supposed to be giving us a hand are not cooperative. You have seen how the vice chairman LC1 has run away after seeing us. So really it is very sad. Police cannot do it alone, cannot go it alone. You are a leader, but you cannot even come and witness and sign on our documents. So I'm requesting those ones who are listening to me, let us join hands in fighting all sorts of criminality.
Mbadde nkola business eno nanga simanyi nti omukulu yagigaana naye nga bwe yagigaana ngivuddemu okuva leero ngenda kunoonya business endala nsaba na kisonyiwo sikyazeemu kukola ki kuleeta walagi.
This year, St. Kizito Matanyi Hospital recorded 4,979 people who were admitted at the facility due to alcoholism-associated complications. I'm Nafka Farida and Moriniga.
Now, authorities at Uganda's blood transfusion services this week say that there is a blood shortage in hospitals. This follows a drop in blood collection capacity as a result of the just-ended lockdown. They're now calling upon government to equip them with new cars to reach out to the population, as these details share with us.
Major Aaron is a resident of Seta in Mukono district, has been donating blood for the last 3 years.
I was supposed to come here in May, come back just because of the COVID, whatever pandemic. I was so scared of coming this side, so I had to come today.
The 34-year-old says his first time to donate blood was in 2018 after he had escorted a colleague to hospital and has since become a regular donor.
So from that time I was like, okay, that's when I gained the zeal of donating blood. And probably I had the call from, I always hear, I listen to radio stations and guys from blood bank always requesting people to donate blood.
Aaron is among the patriotic Ugandans who frequent the place when called upon to donate blood.
I have that spirit of donating blood. It's not bad. It doesn't have any effect at all.
Contacting former blood donors is a new strategy adopted by Uganda Blood Transfusion Services when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the country.
Corporates, and we even thank those donors who have endeavored to come and donate blood whenever they are called upon. We had to devise new ways of working. We set up a call center. We are sending SMS messages. We are visiting small communities. And in this way, we are trying to make sure that we get blood.
The director, Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, Dr. Dorothy Cheyune Byabazaire, told the media that they have had a 16% drop in collection capacity, leading to blood shortage.
Between April 2020 to February 2021, we have been able to collect 231,344,000 units. So, but if you compare to the same period pre-COVID, we collected 276,443 units, giving a 16% COVID-19 impact.
She says the problem has been escalating by insufficient resources to transport their staff to the field, calling upon government to come to the aid.
Most of these vehicles were procured in 2005. We wanted to approach the national COVID task force to give us some of those Land Rover, those pickups, if we could use them to be able to go out to the field and collect blood. But we really have a very, very big challenge.
According to authorities, the major blood donors are students, but with the schools and institutions closed, the supply has also gone down.
Short commercial break. We'll be back with the business news from the week. Stay tuned.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Man, guess what happened yesterday? I entered the what? The taxi. But the pregnancy is from the what? The generator. Then my phone does tutu. And the toothbrush breaks in the what? In the porridge. Then I call who?
Wait, what?
First wait, I am still telling you. Then the jerrycan does what?
Love to talk? MTN My Paka Paka now has more minutes. Get My Paka Paka voice bundles to talk and talk at no extra charge. Dial *160*1# to activate My Paka Paka.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back. You're still watching the weekly roundup edition of the Lunchtime News with me, Wadulo Arnold. Remember, we're also streaming live on YouTube under the name tag UBC Television Uganda. Now, in the world of business, several arcades, including the busy Gazaland hub that opened without fulfilling the basic SOPs for reopening, were this weekend asked to close. The Minister for Kampala Affairs, Minsa Kabanda, says that there will be no excuse for reopening any arcades as long as they do not comply with basic requirements. Minsa Kabanda was addressing journalists in Kampala.
67 arcades out of 146 that have so far been inspected have been cleared to open for operation after having complied with requirements.
Following arcades were found to be compliant and therefore recommended for immediately to be open to public for operation. Number 1, Aneti Plaza, Aponyemo Building, Apple Towers, Arua Parker Mall, Arua Parker Plaza, Atalanta Textile, Batia Tower.
However, 7 arcades out of the 146 that were inspected did not meet the expectations. Some of the requirements included installation of cameras, approved building plans, proper ventilation and lighting, proper hygiene, mainly clean toilets with sufficient water supply. In an operation mounted by KCCS, arcades that had opened without clearance were ordered to close as they sought themselves out.
We have noted with concern that some arcades have reopened
without fulfilling compliance requirements set out. These are to be enforced upon without compromise. We have this morning closed Gazaland and Corner Arcade for denying access to the inspection team.
A sound warning has also been given to all arcade owners who will go against the reopening requirements.
We are continuing the enforcement exercise and shall not hesitate to prosecute anyone continuing to put people's lives in danger.
To ensure continued compliance, there is going to be continuous monitoring.
Continually be monitoring on a random sample basis of all the arcades to ensure that they know that you're watching them and they keep the SOPs in place.
All hawkers starting Monday have been asked to avoid the 4 Gazette streets of Kampala City.
Endeavor or try to attempt us, and you come and start doing your operations around those roads which were prohibited. That is Chikubo Lane, Nabugabo Road, then Mini Place, and the whole of Namirembe, Lumu Street. I don't expect any hawker to dare us and see what might happen.
Minister for Kampala, Minsa Kabanda, says they have commenced on plans to relocate all hawkers and those vending on verandas to Usafi Market.
Vending is not allowed according to the HE's directive. So our plan is to relocate them to Usafi Market. We're also going to gazette a few streets where vending is going to be allowed so that they have spaces where they can operate.
Early this month, 9 teams were set up to inspect and assess the status of arcades to establish whether they conform to the set safety standards. Susan Naonga reporting for UBC TV.
Furthermore, the engineering community in Uganda has been called upon to put more emphasis on production and less on maintenance. Renowned engineer and Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Onek, says that this will promote value addition not just to the profession but to the country's development. This was at Chira Motor Vehicle Manufacturing Plant in Jinja, where the Minister for Science and Innovation, Dr. Monica Musenero, called for more of such projects for development purposes.
Originally designed to last less than 2 years, Chira Motor Vehicle Plant establishment has taken more time. This has been brought about by some constraints including funding and the recent outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
NEC was ready and willing to accomplish this work in 18 months. They were ready to do that. The money we had, because we had to spread it over a roadmap of 3 years, we said 30 months. Honorable Minister, because those funds are not flowing and trickling in properly, as General said, we are in the 32nd month.
However, this has not been reason enough to give up. This is why work on ground is evident for all to see.
Where government MDAs engage NEC and the UPDF directly, government projects are executed at a low cost without compromising quality and in time.
The synergy is being created with Chira Motors to explore sustainable multi-sectoral backward, forward, and lateral linkages are pivotal in promoting local content.
All this has been possible due to engineering capabilities of the Uganda People's Defense Forces. It is for this reason that engineers across the country are called upon to embrace production more than maintenance.
All of you have capacity to develop your potentials to be more productive for the country. Other than most of our engineers, like mechanical, electrical, are remaining as maintenance engineers.
In agreement with him is Dr. Monica Musenero, who calls for more of such development projects.
The issue about funding, I'm still understanding. By next week, I will have a good understanding of where we start.
but I promise I'll do my best to take the message and lobby and negotiate with the finance.
This was Dr. Monica Msenero's maiden field tour as Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation. All she emphasized was less talk and more results.
Building the indigenous motor vehicle industry is consistent with Uganda's aspiration and pathway to the 2040 Vision 2040 outlined in the National Development Plan and also in the NRM Manifesto.
This motor vehicle manufacturing plant in Jinja is a brainchild of Kira Motors Corporation. Upon completion, it is projected to produce 5,000 motor vehicles every year. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Now, it is more than 20 years since LRA rebels attacked Nile coaches, destroying 8 buses. After a verification exercise, government pledged to fully compensate the investor, but to date, the 1.2 billion shillings pledge is yet to be fulfilled. After the long wait, the proprietor is once again appealing to the government to facilitate the revamping process of their struggling transport business. These are the details.
Operators of Nile coaches are appealing to government to fulfill its compensation pledge it made in 2006. This was after 8 Nile coaches were set ablaze by the Lord's Resistance Army rebels along Pakwach-Karuma Road between 1994 and 2004.
Nile coach is one of the first buses, the first company which has engaged on transportation between Kampala and West Nile. Right now, imagine from 60, we are running at 9 buses.
The company has served the West Nile region for about 25 years. Upon a successful verification exercise of the losses incurred due to the rebel attacks, the Attorney General's office in 2009 ordered the Ministry of Finance to pay the company 1.2 billion shillings.
His Excellency the President had promised our company Nile Coach 1.2 billion shilling in form of compensation of the buses which have been destroyed by the rebels in Pakwach. But up to now, we have been given only 120 million. The 1.80 billion is still pending and not been cleared up to now.
The investors raised their concerns through Peter Ogwang, the State Minister for Economic Monitoring, who had paid them a courtesy call at their Alfield grain milling factory in Kaboja, a Kampala suburb. In addition to the compensation plea, they also request for a 10 billion shilling stimulus package for Alfield millers, which is currently going through a difficult time due to the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
I really want to put this on record. My office, as you've correctly said, is a link between the private sector and the President on matters of economic affairs. And for that purpose, my role, my cardinal role, why I was appointed, is to be a link between the private sector and the President.
On his part, Peter Ogwang pledged to urgently follow up the matters to a successful conclusion.
Mzee, you've been there for us at the time when we needed you most, by helping the country provide buses in the route between Kampala, Arua, and the entire West Nile region. And it is in my opinion, considered opinion, to help follow up and remind the President of the pledge he committed. And I'll be interested, I'll work with the manager of the company, if I could get those letters, which directives he issued, so that it eases my work to follow up for this compensation of the 1.9 billion which you still owe, under which he gave a directive.
The grave occurrences faced by these 2 subsidiaries has caused the investor a large capital base erosion, which has barred them from effectively running their enterprises. Wadulo, Arnold, and Dennis Sigoa, UBC News.
Yes, that brings us to the end of our weekly news roundup bulletin edition of the Lunchtime News. Thank you for being a lovely audience. My name is Wadulo Arnold, and allow me to say have yourselves a great afternoon.